Y'all don't want to take no time to talk about your role as much as and tell you what you can't do in church. You don't want to say what the women could do in this setting. Should be proud of this. Say it again. Nobody? Wow. Society has you so deep, can't pick your own blessing, can't speak on your blessing. What role did women have in this part of the work? We're in chapter 35, 20 through 29, just as a recap. We did this last week, but what role did women have? Because women had an important role. Women had a very important role. Don't say just sewing. First of all, what are they working on? A t-shirt, buttons to an ugly shirt. Your husband to come and say, hey, fix this button. What are they sewing? What are they working on? Oh, they're working on a tabernacle. What is that? Is that a big deal or that's not a big deal? Okay, that's a big deal because what is it? What is a tabernacle? Say it again. It does what?
Isn't it the house of the Lord?
Okay, so inside the tabernacle, once we get to that part, inside will be the presence of God, correct? Okay, so what are they working on?
They're working on.
Okay, they're working on right. They're working on what the whole congregation, once it's finished, will be 100% attached to for the duration of their existence until this tabernacle is done away with, right? Just like when you put $2, $3, $5, $10 for a building fund, you're not just doing the second collection, you're working on a collection that will be used. You're working on a collection that will be used to house the church, right? So in church setting, especially for women, never, ever, ever talk about you just doing, oh, I'm just bringing macaroni and cheese to the picnic. Wrong attitude, right? Nothing about church is just, oh, I'm just doing the back table. I just help out with the bulletins. We just had a lady that, right? Without these women that what they're doing, you have no tabernacle. Just like without everything we do every Sunday morning, you have no worship service, right? Without macaroni and cheese and the other food at the picnic, you have no food. Because when the men go to the picnic, ladies, do they help? Do you see a lot of men helping or bringing foil? Just normal picnic. Do you see that? No, you can say no. We know that men tell you they don't help, right? In your house, do you see a lot of time, if you're married, do your most of the time husband beat you to the kitchen? No, right? Do you see sometimes washing dishes, right? Didn't he eat just like everybody else? Sometimes in some houses, men get up, he leave his plate on the table like it's a maid there and go watch TV, right? Don't ever be so downtrodden by societies in a way that men misuse what God asked them to do in an organized setting, to ever think that you're only doing something. Like, I'm just doing this. Without what these women were doing, you have no tabernacle. These people have no faith because they're so visual. They need the tabernacle. Do God need the tabernacle? No. God couldn't care less about this tabernacle. But they need it because they are a visual people that must have something to represent them. Because when Moses went up to the mountain, 40 days went by and they said, oh, we don't know what happened to Moses. We have to build a God for us. So they're working on something that's vitally important to the success in the future of the congregation. Now, they were skilled, they were wise, and they were willing. Those are the three areas that we looked at last week, right? So for all the women that were available, the ones who were willing, the ones who were skilled, and the ones who were wise were the ones who were chosen. Meaning, just because you knew how to sew doesn't mean you were chosen, because there was other two categories you had to reach. You had to be willing and you had to be wise. Now, a lot of times people do things at church that they don't want to do, and it shows. Then you have people that do something and they actually like doing it and it shows too, right? You can't fool brothers and sisters. This is something every Christian in the world, we need to get a better understanding of, right? When you come to worship or you're at a picnic or you're at a ladies' day or a men's retreat and you're just going through the motions, everybody knows you're not fooling one person because we all sinners too. So you might as well just say, I don't want to do it because you're not going to fool one person in the room. We all going to be whispering and say, oh, so-and-so they don't really want to sew. She just doing it because Moses asked her to sew. Look at her. She don't want to do it. Look, she's not even stitching in the right straight line. Look. Every woman who know how to sew will start critiquing. So it can't just be the ability. It had to be the willing. And then the last part that really differentiates most people in church is the whys, not the knowledge, right? A lot of us who've been baptized for a while, especially people who have come up from a Christian home, have the knowledge of the Bible. This is talking about wisdom. What's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? What's the difference between knowledge and wisdom?
Wisdom is applied knowledge.
Like wisdom is applied knowledge, right? So with knowledge is the knowing, right? Knowing of right and wrong, let's say. Adam and Eve had a concept, hey, don't do it because God said. The problem is they didn't have the wisdom, the discernment to be able to see wrong, see right, and choose right, right? And apply that wisdom of here are the reasons why we don't eat that fruit, right? Just knowing, hey, mom and dad said don't do this thing is just basic knowledge, right? That's like babies to teenage years. The problem is when teenagers become teenagers, it's almost like they become stupid because now when they get into the world, just knowing somebody told them not to do it is no longer enough, right? And only those that have the wisdom to be able to say, oh, here's why I shouldn't do that. That's the people who don't do it. Other people just, oh, I did it. Why'd you do that? You see a lot of cases in court, just, hey, why you, parents say, why you did that? I don't know. Like they don't have the applied knowledge, right? Just like in our lives, sometimes we sin. If somebody asks us, hey, why you did that? Didn't you know that was wrong? I don't know why I did that. Because the wisdom is the missing part. So for these women, they were not elite category, skilled, willing, and wise. Last week, we talked about that from a Christian standpoint. Always stay ready in your Christianity, right? You have to perfect practice makes perfect. Don't wait for some major moment in your life, some huge evangelistic moment. Every day, try to be a better person on a Christian level because you never know when God will need you. And if you just getting ready when God say, hey, I need a volunteer, it's too late. If the women just was going to say, oh, let me go learn how to sew real quick, it was too late. Already Moses needed willing, skill, and wise, right? So they have to already be in those categories, right? Same thing is for the men, right? If you not doing those things that are deacon work, that are elder work, that's evangelistic work, the congregation already know that. Don't say you want to be a deacon, right? If no woman see you serving for the last 52 weeks, if you had a congregation that say, hey, we got deacon, don't put your name in. Why? Because you're not a deacon. Oh, I'm not because no one picked me up. No, you're not a deacon because you're not doing deacon work. That's the point. If you already was doing deacon work, people in the congregation will already see you as a deacon, right? Parents, isn't that how it works, right? You need to see your kid already exhibiting some form of leadership, some sort of taking initiative, then you reward them, right? I hope you're not just giving out rewards and kid not doing nothing to deserve it, right? That's bad. Kid, you don't got to say, hey, you do your homework, you get this thing. Well, that kid already got to be doing your homework. Then when you see that report card, wow, here's the reward for going above and beyond, right? This is how life works. You have to already be doing these things. So these were women that were already exhibiting things in their everyday character and interaction that people can recognize they are the chosen ones for this task. Now, will you have hate there? Yes, you always going to have in any group of people somebody who do not have any skill, don't have no wisdom, but have the willingness to do something that's going to think they can do that. That's what's wrong with our society right now. Everyone feel like they can do everything. Music, art, teaching, politics, business, because barriers of entry from the internet is so low. Everyone. That's how you have trash. Because once you open up the floodgate, you got a lot of people come through, right? Because everybody got to come through. Good, bad. You got people who can't even sing on the radio. What is that? Oh, I need something on the mic. What you mean? There's something make my voice sound better. No. There are singers for people who already know how to sing. No. Just a good mic. What happens when you perform live? Just play the tape and not just do the mouth. What? Right? That's how the world you live in now. You got people don't have no experience and nothing say, oh, I think I'm gonna just go run for this office or do this thing. Or what experience do you have? No. So why do you think you can do it? Because I want to do it. Well, I want to pay mortgage or car note. So can I stop and still keep a house and a car? Just because you want to do something is not enough. The problem is in our society, that's kind of where we are. That's why I fear for young people, because young people will no longer have a desire to go the extra mile when they see society rewarding people with mediocre to no ability. Right? If I see somebody getting success that's doing the bare minimum or not even achieving, why would I work hard as a young person? This is the problem that we have. So in our setting, this is why Christianity is so important. You have to change the society in which you live in, no matter what time period you live in and no matter where you live in the world. So in this specific setting, as women, when you are skillful, willing, and wise, it not only impacts your congregation, it also impacts the society in which you live. Same thing for men. People talk about America. If you focused on your last name in your street, America will always be better every day. The problem is people start championing for things 2 streets over, not worrying about their last name or their street. Make your house better. Make your neighborhood better. If all 300 and something million people in the United States did those 2 things, you wouldn't have any need for half of what you hear about on TV. Just like 11,000 something churches of Christ. If every Christian worried about making their personal Christianity better and their local congregation better, God would say, wow, labor are many and the harvest is many. The problem is people worrying about somebody else's congregation, somebody else's salvation with a plank sticking out their eye. Just because you're willing to do something, it doesn't mean that you are chosen or you should do it, especially more so in a spiritual sense. God is pairing up wise, skillful, and willing all together. So that's vitally important. In this specific setting, it's about women. But in general, when we were ending last week, we were just talking about our Christian life. Okay, let's look at this question 6. Define the role of Bezalel and Oholiab in the building of the tabernacle. Bezalel, and Oholiab. I don't know if people still name kids that, but I hear some strange names. Somebody may come in here one day and say my name is Oholiab. I don't know, but what role did these 2 people have in the tabernacle? This is Exodus 35:30 through the end of the chapter. Go ahead.
They were chosen to design the workmanship of the tabernacle. So the cutting of jewels, the wood, they were selected to do any type of carving or artistic work involving like gold, silver, or bronze.
Okay, why they didn't pick Aaron? That sounds like, didn't Aaron have a resume? He had a LinkedIn. He said, hey, that's my profile. Everything you just said, didn't I do? I had less than what they had, right? I just worked with the scraps people gave me, and I made a calf that was so amazing. The calf came to life and ran out the fire by itself. Remember, he said that. So how come Aaron? Why they didn't pick Aaron to do this? What you just described sound exactly. Aaron could raise his hand and say, I can do that. I have the ability to do that, and I have the desire to do that. Why they didn't pick Aaron? Good. Both of you can answer. Okay.
So God specifically called these 2 individuals by name to do this work. Aaron was called to do something else.
That put wisdom and understanding in them to do. Which is like Aaron did what he did based on Aaron. Nobody told him to do that. He did it based on
and understanding, which is like a higher level.
Right. This is why this in last week goes hand in hand. That's why we kind of ended with talking not just about the women, but the men, because it's the same concept. Wait on God. God gonna call whoever he called based on his overall divine purpose. Now, inside of that, if you have a desire to be used by God, he's calling people because they are willing, skillful, and wise. Aaron, out of pure spiritual ignorance and stupidity, built a false god. Why in the world will God use him? Sometimes we come into the midst with so much sin in our life. Why in the world will God use you? God not using you. It's God's love you still here. Just worry. Aaron should be worried about his own good standings with God, instead of focusing anything about making this thing, right? That's the concept. So this setting is based off of two people that were chosen, that had the ability, okay, that had the skill, but God chose them for a spiritual setting. That wisdom was there. Aaron had the ability, he had the skill, but we know that his good standing with anything carving, the last thing you want Aaron to do is to tap on anything to make something, because God forbid he make another golden calf, right? He already messed up in such a big way. God's going to use him for something else. This is something that we have to learn in our Christianity. God loves you so much that when you do wrong or sin, sometimes it's not a matter of him punishing you, but saving you. He'll use you for something else. That's like Aaron say, no, I want to keep making stuff. Sweetheart, last time you make stuff, I almost killed you. So it's best you don't make stuff anymore. Why you don't be a priest instead? Oh man, I don't want to be a priest. I want to make this thing that Ellis has and Beelzebub made. I don't know. Don't worry about that. Do something else, right? Do something that fits who you are and what you are able to do for your own spiritual salvation. Some years you got to make sure that you do things, even the jobs that you have, based on where you are with your spiritual walk. Right? An alcoholic can't go apply to be a bartender. Why? Well, you are alcoholic. Right? Every minute the temptation will relapse you bad. Right? You need to go work somewhere else. Oh, but I'm a good bartender. All right, but you are an alcoholic too. So what you want to do, right? That's the concept. Aaron, you need to be subjected to some instructions. Why? Because for the 40 days you were in charge, you let the people decide for you. Oh, well, what should I do now? You should go do something else and build your faith to get better, to get yourself up to some certain level. So these individuals were picked for their role. Now, let's go back to when we were looking 2 or 3 weeks ago, all the artists, right? Remember, there was a lot of artists and they brought the things willfully to congregation and people were making. So even outside of all the artists, God picked 2 specific people to make this physical construct in the design. That means that the other artists have to follow the design, right? It's like architect, right? Brother David will have his job. If he makes the architect and his company says, hey, this is what we're going to go with, everyone is going with that thing. Another architect can't come in and just erase the bathroom and change it. They said, what's that? Well, I didn't like the bathroom. It should be like this. No, we already decide. Because what will happen if every day another architect keeps changing the blueprint of the bathroom? The construction people are going to be what? Confused. Who are we building? David's bathroom or Ellis's bathroom? So just because you have all these skilled artists doesn't mean that you can listen to everybody, right? You got a cook and you got too many cooks in the kitchen, right? What we making today? Pizza, pasta, macaroni and cheese. What's on the menu, right? We need a head chef who will dictate, here's what the restaurant is making. Everyone who has the ability to cook have to follow that recipe. This is order. Why is that a big deal? Because some people feel, especially in today's society and religious setting, who gives certain people the right to decide what this church do, this congregation do, this thing or that thing, because God is the God of order and not chaos, because you have to have some structure to be able to even put one step forward. Every person should understand it, right? Same thing happens in relationships, same thing happens at your job, same thing happens in sports, same thing happens in business and a country, you have to have some design. These two specific artists were the ones chosen to set the design in motion, and the other artists who had the ability to do artistic things had to follow these two people's design. It don't make you any less of an artist that you weren't chosen. This is what people have to get away from. Because you got some people who won't come to church events because they weren't the one leading. At the men's retreat, this baffles me. You know, you have elders, deacons, ministers, right? And men's retreat, after the main talk, they break down in the subgroup. Sometimes I look, I see ministers frolicking in the grass, taking pictures, digging in their nose. What are you doing? We have enough stuff. Because they feel in a small group. I'm already popping out here. I don't need to go to no small group. Let them struggling men go to them group. Because they feel like because nobody picked them, I'm a minister at my church, at this men's retreat. Maybe the rest of y'all need to go to them group. I'm going to go play in the grass. What? Because they feel because they weren't the ones picked to lead that they need to do something else, right? If you can't be a follower, you can't be a leader, right? That's the concept. Every person have to understand that, right? If you can't follow instruction, you can't give instruction. That's how people should be raised, right? If you don't respect your parents, you're not going to respect police or teachers or any form of authority because you come from a home where there is no respect for authority. This is how life works. So this is all getting them into the concept of being a congregation, being a nation of people. Remember, God is making them out of nothing. So these rules, regulations, and structure is really for their own good and their best interest. Okay, let's skip to question 7. This is 36, 2 through 7. How was the enthusiasm of the people shown? Would God like to see this same spirit in the church? This is Exodus 36, 2 through 7. So in those set of scriptures there, how was the enthusiasm of the church shown? Okay, they gave above and beyond. Look at verse 3, right? They continue bringing to him free will offering when? How often? Every single morning. Okay, and then what else? They had to stop them because they were so sufficient, right, and efficient. They were over blessing that it was an abundance, right? And then look at verses really 6 and 7. Moses gave a command and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp. Let neither man nor woman do any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. And the people were restrained from bringing, for the material that they had was sufficient for all the work to be done. Indeed, it was too much. Right, so they gave an excess. They gave so much of their time and their materials and their ability that there was an excess. And Moses had to say, "Whoa, slow down. We only making just a certain tabernacle, right? We ain't making 35 tabernacles. Y'all doing too much, right? You're over blessing." So the question is, in the second half of 7, would God like to see that spirit in the church? Explain. That same mindset. Would God like to see that in the church? How does that relate to our Christianity?
Well, if we take it in order on how the tabernacle was conceived, back in chapter 31, God told Moses that he chose these two individuals. So number one, we have to respect the leadership that was chosen. And then based on their experience and their knowledge and their wisdom on how they're going to perform the task, we have to get in line, all of us with our talents, and we have to do. Now, the key part of what has been said is this: God used those who are willing to do his business. Don't you worry about the ones that don't. So get your mind out of who's not participating at the event and keep your mind focused on those who are, and then look at each individual talent and see how the work is going to grow. We spend a lot of time talking about worrying about bothering with people who don't do instead of working with people who God has chosen to do, because it's apparent here that God is in those who are willing and have a willing heart to give up everything. That financial sacrifice, they gave all they had. And God said, stop, that's enough. So they didn't even lose anything. So if we take the pattern that was set here and put it in a church setting and just go down and itemize each thing they did the way they did it, we can be benefactors of the same blessing that God gave for the tabernacle, because the church is in the same house.
Good example, a good example of a blueprint of how a congregation could come together and function. Erica?
So I think definitely God would like to see this spirit in the church. And if we can just like in our minds imagine watching something being built from the ground up is very exciting. I remember when you would drive to our house and okay, now they put a roof on or they put the shutters on. It's an exciting process. Think of Noah and the ark, right? I think that God wants us to be excited as he shows us that even in our physical form, we can participate in something so enormous. And I think instead of looking at it as, like, I think a lot of times we approach church as programs, like we're doing things. Like, it's beyond that. You're building something. We are still building the house of the Lord. We're building the house of the Lord in Bridgeport. So I think that God is very excited, and he's expecting us to be excited every Sunday, because each collection basket represents another piece of work, another tapestry, right? Another moment for us to do it. And I think we sometimes lose sight of it because our building process is so internal that it's hard to gauge it. And that's something that I wish we had something more external, so that people, I really think more people will participate, because we're just like the Israelites. A lot of us, if we can't see it, like we can't see Nepal, so like when we give, we don't really give like we're building something. You know what I mean? And it's not until you see the photos that people are like, oh my gosh, wow, look. So I think God is expecting us to have that sense of urgency, because we're still doing the same thing. And on my in my Bible, like it just references a lot of the verses we use for the Lord's Supper and for the collection, and it's the same kind of language. And so what God is asking us to do in 2 Corinthians and 1 Corinthians is the same kind of thing that he was asking them to do. So the building process is exactly the same.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Let's look at Luke 6, because this ties into what both of you were saying. Look, someone read Luke 6, verse 38. Luke chapter 6, verse 38. What does that say? Luke 6, verse 38.
If I will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be put into your bosom. For with the same measure that you use, it will be measured back to you.
Okay, think of corn, right? You have your corn kernels, maybe like about this big. If we had a cup of corn kernels, I'm not sure how many kernels you can fit, right? We put this cup on this side. Then we take another cup, put the same amount of corn kernels, right? We dump those corn kernels on this table, and we grind the corn kernels. I don't know if anyone has ever had to grind anything, or you make your own spices. Usually it's in like a little thick bowl that has a thick top and a wooden piece that has a round on the bottom, and you grind. It's the same cup, same kernels. Let's say we have 50 kernels in this cup on this table. We put 50 kernels here, dump it into a grinding cup, and grind them 50 kernels up, right? Grind them fine. Then we dump them into the same size cup as at this table, right? When we hold the two cups up visually, will they be at the same level? The grinded up and the kernels. Why? Which one will be higher? Meaning, what if we look at the top of the cup and we looked inside of the whole kernels and the grinded, which one will be at the top and which one would be maybe less in the cup? The holes will be at the top. Why? Because when you grind up, you could fit more in the cup, right? That's what God is saying here, right? Given will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over will be put into your bosom, right? Because that same amount, them same 2 mites that woman gave, just 2 mites in a cup is nothing. But grind it down, look what God can do. Wow, you gave 2 mites and here's your cup. So you may say, oh, my cup is filled. This is all the money I had. Now, let me grind this down. God said, let me see your cup. Oh, you got room for a lot more blessings. Let me see. Some more mites in there. Get a couple more mites in there. Lady said, look, that's how God works. Right? The more that you give, God is just going to press that down. And the Bible is saying going to fill in the increase, right? Because his concept is, if you give like I gave, I'm going to give more. We're going to have a giving battle and see who can outgive. God say, I'm the chief giver, so ain't nobody outgiving me. You can try, I love for people to try. That's the concept. In this verse, Luke 6:38, if you have a study Bible, verses 27 through 38, you know what the header says? Rules of the kingdom of life. Rules of the kingdom of life. Christian life. This giving is the concept. The more you give, shaken down, pressed together, running over will be your bosom. Your cup will be filled. Why? For with the same measure that you use, it will also be given back to you. The same way you give is how God gives to you. That's how it works. So when we talk about the spirit of giving, because in the Exodus text, they gave of their time, their ability, and their money, their resources. It got to the point where Moses had to say, hey, no more, because y'all gave so much. Look how amazing this is, right? Think about what we read every single Sunday that's on the board for a collection. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 16. First Corinthians 16 and verse 1. Now concerning the collection for the saints, as I have given orders to the church of Galatia, so you must do also. Hey, give like the Galatians gave, like this people gave, this people, because Paul said that why? There was a group of people mentioned in the New Testament that gave above and beyond. Remember, there was a need. Right before it was this weekly collection, a need came out because Christians were scattered. And in the Bible, it says there was a specific congregation that was giving way beyond even what they had. Any Bible students know what group that was? Macedonians, right? They gave so much, like, oh, Christians are in need. Here, have what I have, because I go to work next month and make it back. You guys have no work because you are dispersed. That was the concept that the New Testament structured worship service followed, is if you give on a weekly basis, when there's a need, you just be able to distribute those funds evenly, but people have to give as you purpose in your own heart, just like in Exodus, right? Remember we read like 4 weeks ago, the question was posed, give how you can give. Will we have enough? Right? Just ask them for a free will offering of the gold they have. Let's see if we have enough to build a tabernacle. They rose to the occasion and gave so much. Moses had to say, we have enough. That same concept is what the Macedonians were doing. And Paul's trying to encourage the Corinthians to say, hey, the same thing I encourage the Galatians to do is that same mindset. Give the way Jesus said to give, and give the way Jesus gave. And then the second verse we read is, let's look at 2 Corinthians 9. 2 Corinthians 9. Somebody read for us verses 6 through 8. 2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 8.
What this I say, he restores sparingly, shall reap also sparingly, and he restores bountifully, shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly, or of necessity. For God loveth a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye always having all sufficiency in all things, may abound to every good work.
Okay, look at verse 2. For I know your willingness, about which I boast to you, to the Macedonians, that Achaia were ready a year ago, and your zeal has stirred up the majority. Yes, I have sent to the brethren, lest our boasting of you should be in vain in this respect, that, as I said, you may be ready. Lest if some Macedonians come with me and some find you unprepared, talking about this whole concept of this readiness to give. Then we skip down to what Sister Karen read. But this I said, if you put a little bit in the ground, only a little bit gonna come up. If you work a little bit of hours, you only gonna get a little bit of money in a check. You work less than part-time, you're not getting full-time check. That's how the world works. The more hours you work in this country, the bigger your check gonna be. That means on Friday, nobody should be shocked at their check unless you getting underpaid. Your check got out, what did you work? You ever take time off and forget? Those that work 2 weeks and you took a day or 2 days off, right? And you forgot. If you ever not was on salary and you were on hourly, you forgot you took that day. You look in your check, say, hey, what is this? What? Where's my money? Remember you took Monday off. You be like, why why in the world did you think, what did I do Monday that was worth this short check? Oh, I went to the movies, I went to the beach. I need this money. Why, what did I do? You try to think, why in the world did I take Monday off? You were sick. I should have came to work coughing anyway, because you forgot and you get your check and it's short. Flip side, you put a lot in the ground, a lot sprout up, right? Anybody work a job that was hourly and was able to get time and a half, or somebody was like, had to call you in on a holiday and you like, child, I'm gonna be the first one there because I know my check gonna be fat when that Friday comes, because I'm gonna get my regular time plus that time and half of that time. And you start doing math real quick and you can't sign up fast enough for the overtime or for the holiday work, because you know the more time you put in, the bigger your check gonna be. And then the Bible says, so let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver, right? God wants that same concept, that when you have that opportunity to put in more in giving, that you rise to the occasion and he'll bless. And then verse 8 is the blessing. God is able to make all grace abound towards you, that you always having all sufficiency in all things, having abundance for every good work. God is able to take those 2 mites from that lady and say, hey, if you trust me, let me have them 2 mites. Lady said, I don't have no more money, but I trust you. Here go these 2 mites. God is going to say, hey, I got a way to make sure you have 4 mites next week. How? Don't worry about the how. I handle the how. But you give me them 2 mites, I give you 4 mites. Right? God is saying, if you give me of your time, of your ability, of your mind, of your money this week, wow, August, I got a great blessing for you. How? Don't worry about how, but you're going to put in the work in July for this August blessing? Some people say yes. Some people say, I can't. Right? And then they don't realize that. That's why they have the same August or worse than they had in July. Because God's saying every day, I got a lot of blessings up here. We in the blessing business. But I told you thousands of years ago how blessings work. On a surface level, we bless everybody, good and bad people. Rain gonna come, sun gonna come. But when you start talking about real blessings, long-term blessings in this life and the next, you have to seek first the kingdom. If you seek first the kingdom and you put God first in every aspect of your life, and you give to others, love others like you love yourself, we will bless you as a Godhead more than you can ever fathom. But if you hold back, right, flip side of the 2 mites, wasn't there a married couple that sold some land, came to Peter and them and said, hey, how much money? Man, we only got a little bit of money for that land. They're like, really, that's all you got? Yeah, man. I hope God accepts this little bit of money, but we sold that. You sold it, this all the money you got? This all the money we got. Boom, drop dead. Husband came in. Hey, what happened to the man? You wouldn't believe market bad out here. Where's the money? This all the little money? That's all the money you got for that land? Yep, you sure? Yep, you positive this all the money you got? I said it's all the money. Why you keep asking me? Well, look, the people was carrying your wife out, now you dead. Boom. Why? Because you lied. The contrast to a woman giving life. Look, God, what did Peter say? Nobody said you had to give all the money for that land, but you said it was all the money. You try to be in the same category as that lady with the 2 mites and be like, oh, we gave all that we had when it wasn't all that you had. You lied. You try to fast track your way to a bigger blessing when God knows the intent in your heart. That's the same way we are with our time and our ability, not just money, right? God knows who's putting the work in. Those that are putting more and more giving of themselves on a daily or weekly basis throughout the world, God can see that and will bless them immensely. Those that are going through the motions and just figuring out, man, somebody else will put some more gold earrings for that tabernacle, won't receive the same honor, praise, and blessing. This is how God works, and we should not be confused because this is how the world works. So when we look at it for us in modern society as Christianity, we have to get to the point of a desire to give. All this comes from a desire, right? If you have no desire to give, none of this means anything to you. But if you have a desire to give and a willingness to give, giving cheerfully, this is how your life will change. This Bible study, right? This concept of God's word is no different than when Jesus said, if you had faith, you'd be able to take this mountain and move there, right? If you broke beyond measure and somebody talk about giving and you think to yourself, I don't have food to eat, I'll give you anything, your mindset is broken. Just like Jesus said, you can move this mountain. You say, how? Mountain is in the ground. I'm gonna move it. Jesus said, you already broke it. But if you say, wow, let me think here. I can give him my time. I can give him my ability. I may not have this, or I can do this, or the little that I have, I can budget. God is able to increase. That's how God works. But if you don't trust that he is who he says he is, and he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him, your life will not get better. This is just how it works. You have to go some other means to better your life. But if you trust God, no matter what your financial situation is, no matter what your financial situation is, God can bless you through it. This is where people be like, oh, I'm poor. I'm 30 or 40. I'm going to be poor all my life. You choosing that. No, I was born as a, you a baptized Christian? Yeah. You like being poor? No, I don't like it. Why are you poor? Do you read your Bible? The Bible tells you how to be rich. Right? Not saying, oh, I have all the money in the world, but your Bible is telling you right now how to get more blessings. But if you don't believe it, you will stay in the financial situation that you're in. That's how real God is, that he can change your finances. Some of us have no desire to change our finances because it will require giving first. And God is saying, well, if you let go of that dollar, I'll give you $5, but you got to release that dollar. You saying, let me get the $5 in the other hand, and at the same time, I'm going to let the dollar go. God said, nah, I don't play games like that. When you ready to give me the dollar, call me, and I'll give you $5. Some people will stay with that dollar and don't never call God back for that $5 because they don't trust that they know God will bless them. But your Bible literally said, if you give, he will give more. But you have to believe that, right? This is one of those Bible studies that's very personal and internal. Some people in the room will believe that and give of their time, ability, and finances more, and some more. Okay, let's end there. We'll transition into Bible into worship service now. Thanks for everyone's comments and Bible readers. Let's go to God in a word of prayer today. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful and blessed day. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to study a portion of your word, to recognize how important each and every member is in history of your chosen people, the Israelite nation, and also the transition into the kingdom of all nations, knowing how male and female are both vitally important. Thank you for also sharing with us the concept of being wise, being skillful, and being willing to be able to be an asset to your kingdom and chosen and used by you. Thank you also for the concept of giving, the ability to have a desire to give freely, knowing that if we seek first you in your kingdom and give cheerfully to those who are in need, that you will bless us immensely. We thank you for these biblical truths. We ask that you strengthen our faith to apply them to our daily lives so that we can be better as Christians. God, guard and keep us through all things. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I have, but I don't know yet. It will fit, but I have one. You know, the car you come.
Everything cleared up.
Yeah.
Go ahead. That's the only information you need. Everybody.